Hi, folks. Welcome to Soapbox. My name is Mauro DiPasquale, and we're glad you're joining us today. I want to say thank you to our sponsors right at the top of the show. Thank you to Steve Welch, optician, Sal Acuri of Acuri Moda, and Worcester Family Eye Care for supporting the show, and really all our a circle of friends, members, for supporting this show and hundreds like it that are here on this channel. We are WCCA TV, Cable 194, or you might be seeing us anywhere around the world streaming at WCCATV.com. You can find us Twitter at WCCA, Twitter and on Instagram at WCCA TV 13, YouTube WCCA TV 194 Worcester. And don't forget, we have thousands of shows for free on-demand viewing at WCCATV.com. We thank you, and we appreciate your support. If you'd like to donate to support this station, we are community media. We're the last vestige for free speech here in social media world. And you can keep programs like this alive. Simply text WCCA TV to 243-725, and you can make a tax-deductible contribution, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Today's show, I'm really excited to learn more about. It's about the Agape, I hope I said it right, the Agape community. And joining us is co-founder of the Agape community is Brayton Shanley. Brayton, thank you for being here.
Good to be here, Mauro. Yes.
You and your wife founded this organization.
Yes. And yeah, we saw the world the way it was, and
Yep.
My wife was finishing up her PhD, and I had my own non-profit consulting business, and then we just saw a world that was too violent and a world that was too individualistic and detrimental to the living detrimentally toward the earth. So we decided to start a community.
So you just did it, huh?
Yeah, we just did it.
So how long ago was that?
Well, it started in 1982 in the Boston area, and then we started with other families, and then we decided to remain faithful to a vision of rural, going back to the land, which is one way to live simply, and it's a traditional American.
And that's the mission of Agape community. Right?
Yeah,
To live simply.
Right, to live simply and to live environmentally sound and to live nonviolence, is to live and teach the spirit of nonviolence that we learn from our faith, from Christian faith and the example of Jesus.
You also wrote a book.
Yes.
It's called Loving Life on the Margins.
Right.
Question mark. So who lives in the margins, and what does that mean?
Well, okay. Well, there's three of us that comprise the heart of the community. It's really set up like a school in a way, that people come to the community to learn how to live environmentally sound, or they want to learn how to live nonviolently. They want to see a community or experience a community that prays every day, and then lives environmentally sound living and builds. So we build and maintain all the houses. We cut the land. We cut the trees and landscaped to build on the property, and then people come by. There's a advisory board of 12 people who live in the region. We have maybe 50 or 100 volunteers or people who are affiliated with the community that come to our events. And the events are prayer. We have an Advent prayer vigil. We have an Easter vigil. We have St. Bridget's. And next week we're going to have a St. Bridget of Kildare, the Irish saint. We have an evening dedicated to her. And so there are many events that people come to. So we have interns and volunteers that also live with us throughout the year. And they come, as I say, to learn the life and to help with the work, which is to work the land and to publicize and disseminate our materials, our written materials, our newspapers, and the events that people come to.
Is that now? How do you sustain that? I mean, there must be some challenges into, first of all, getting it started. I'm really curious how physically you're able to get the property and to pay for it.
Yeah.
And how do you sustain this activity?
Well, it's enormously hard when you think of the price of real estate in this region of the country, especially. So we were blessed in many ways. We had a house that we sold, an old broken down house that we sold for a modest some, and then so we had some cash from that. Then Suzanne cashed in her retirement. She retired early. She had accrued some retirement. I had some savings.
Now, what was she doing before?
She was a teacher. She was a teacher on her way to a PhD in English, and I had my own educational consulting business, and we left that to do this, to be a sign in the world of peace and environmental soundness. So I went to my aunt, who had just sold her house, and she really supported the vision of our community. She was a good Catholic woman and dedicated to peace that we were, and so she loaned us $25,000 to buy the property, and we paid her back without interest.
Yeah.
And then we just got the word out. One of the ways you can do this, you see this, I know you've had Catholic workers on here who live like this in a lot of ways, is that we rely on donations. We don't have outside jobs. So we rely on donations. So we develop a mailing list of thousands of people we've been at this almost 40 years. So there's a lot of support out there. For people who may not want to live like this, but they want to support it, and they believe in peace, and they believe in people modeling an environmentally sound life. So we live off those donations. We make a modest sum from the donations we request for rural immersions, for the retreats that we do.
Right.
It's never as free for service.
So there are some programs that help.
Yeah, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And when you grow your own food, you're saving some,
Right.
There's ways to live where it's almost like a revenue,
Right.
We have the trees on the property, and that's our heat. So that's labor, certainly, and a little bit of cost, but it's also part of the
I think
the
that's
revenue.
what people forget, that life, you can have life without owing it to somebody else.
Yes.
You can sustain yourself.
Yeah,
The gifts are here.
yeah.
You
Well,
just don't see it.
That's fundamental. That's absolutely fundamental.
Now, what inspires you to do this? Where does that come from?
Well,
You're Catholic,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of Catholics, and not all of us live like to that ideal, and it's a beautiful vision.
Yeah. Well, I just think that my wife and I, and the peace community that surrounds us. We lived in the Boston area for a while, and we became very close to other peace people and peace communities like the Catholic Worker and Dorothy Day inspired, and the Philip and Daniel Berrigan, who were Catholic priests in the 60s and 70s and on forward, and still are inspirations even as they've gone to eternal life. So we're part of the large network of people that see it this way, that you have to live, you have to walk your talk, you have to live. If you want peace, you have to live the peace. If you want nonviolence, you have to become a nonviolent person. And so we saw a very violent culture. The United States has been called, I don't think it's a hyperbole, the most violent country on earth, because we have, 50% of every tax dollar goes to past, present, and future wars. And we have the highest incarceration rate in the world. I mean, what does that mean?
Right.
And we have the death penalty, only industrial democracy that has that. What does all that mean? And our young people are watching, either their gadgets, which is probably numbing them out, but if they're watching movies, they're probably, violent movies or ones that entertained by violence, or their video games are now outgrossing Hollywood movies.
Right.
So,
And the entertainment seems to be misdirecting people, their thoughts, and it's sending messages that are taking people further away.
it's either the titillation of violence, or this sex and demeaning of women, or just nonsense.
Do you see a correlation
Nonsense.
between vanity and violence?
Well, yeah, I think it's all part of the me. It's me, protect me. I count.
Right.
And that feeds, the narcissism or the selfishness and the vanity leads to, I want to protect my advantages.
Then you feel the violence is a right.
Right. But I worked hard for my money, so I hire the government to protect it.
Then it becomes.
And they want it protected because the corporations want it protected and then you get the individualism, which is a terrible, terrible tendency, not the communal or the collective idea, like the tribal used to be the tribal way.
Yeah.
I think of the Celtic tribes that I came from,
Yeah.
But That's not happening anymore. And so you have individualism, which is a very expensive way to live.
Yeah.
And so we make that money where we have the advantages of a white, culture, white European culture that knows how to work it politically so that we have those advantages and keep them. So that's a disaster for the earth, that living these individualistic lifestyles are deadly to all that materialism, all that oil burning to keep one little family going or one little person living alone or whatever it is.
Right.
So environmentally it's bad, and it's bad, I think, socially as well.
Right. And people just seem to go for it. They're just led to it.
Well, that's the model we have. The model we have is that we have it made. I grew up in the 50s, the 40s and 50s. That we have it made. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
So we have our own little family, and the big vision is what is your way in the world? What is your dream? How are you going to make a living? How are you going to keep these advantages going? What law school are you going to go to?
Right.
Those are the models that we have. We don't have collective models that say, what about values? And wouldn't you like to live with people, in proximity to people who share your values, who don't want to kill themselves making money? No one accuses Americans of being happy. They're certainly envied, but the price we pay for this is morally tough when it comes to all the money spent on the military, taxation money that should be going to needy people, should be going to human needs. So it's the modeling. Where do you get another model? And then all the media doesn't help. It just closes us
So
in.
how's the population reacting to what you're doing? Does it see it as you're breaking the mold?
Yeah,
in
that's
a
true.
way.
Yeah.
You're sort of like letting Caesar have what Caesar wants over here, and you're setting up something different.
Right.
So what's the reaction of people? You seeing an uptick in people coming to it? I'm using a business term.
Yeah.
Good,
Good question. I think that the church, let's say, may damn us by faint praise as such. The Worcester bishops, of course, have been wonderful.
Yeah.
And there's renegade priests, and a lot of women religious have been very, very supportive, very supportive. So in an odd kind of way, even though we've been damned by faint praise by, I think, a lot of the church, the majority of the church, it still supports war and was very slow to get with the environment until Francis came along.
Right.
And there's some support there, and you can always count on that. And I think the townspeople still, like you mentioned, the sign at Agape. I'm sure that most of the townspeople drive by and see the sign and say, "Wonder what's going on there." But they would never think of stopping and going and finding out.
Yeah.
So I think the alternative nature of it can be intimidating,
Right.
or odd that people would actually do something like this. So I think that the culture in general is very slow to get it. I think the younger people, and the people like us, people who are tired of putting up with a lifestyle that doesn't work, or that they see the damage that all this violence is doing to us and in our name, and they would come. And so we always get enough support. We never get what we want, but we always get what we need in terms of support, people coming to our events and so forth.
And some of these events, because we have limited time,
Yeah.
some of these events you mentioned earlier, you have prayer vigils.
Right?
There's a prayer community, so
Yes.
you meet every day and pray.
Right.
Is there,
3 times a day we set aside for
and
prayer.
it's sort of a retreat area you have?
Well, I know it's 32 acres of land in a very beautiful spot. So, like Catherine Doherty used to say, she's a Russian mystic, rural is quiet and quiet is holy. And so people pick that up. There's something very beautiful about rural.
Absolutely.
And there's something very comforting about peace, the peace of the quiet. So people would come to the environment, let's say, from the inner city, which we're dedicated to. We're not interested in setting up a utopia, for us.
Right.
We're only here to serve the needs of people who want a more peaceful lifestyle or want to join us in a protest against terrible initiatives of our federal government and our military, or our corporations that are, where we're burning oil and ruining the world. So, Mobil in 1978, they found out that the deadly greenhouse gases were coming out of burning oil, and ExxonMobil kept it quiet, even though they knew, their scientists knew. So there's a lot to organize. There's a lot of reasons to organize, and I think of all of them nowadays with the IPCC report, the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change last year, said we have 10 years to cut our greenhouse gases by 40%. So that's a huge challenge. But if we don't make it, we're not going to catch up. And
and then it's going to start the sort of domino effect, right?
Yes.
Things happen, they build upon each other, and it gets worse and worse.
We'll hit a tipping point we don't want to hit.
Right.
Yeah. And so young people tend to get this because it's always been enlightened self-interest, right? Humans, when they see that their own future is in trouble, we're a little older.
Yeah, but we saw it in the 60s. We thought the same thing. I remember in high school being concerned about the climate, but we didn't do much in our generation. I don't feel like it was enough.
Yeah.
So what happens if I drive by the Agape property off of Route 32 there, and if I pulled in, because I mentioned to you, I've seen it before.
Right.
I didn't know quite what it was. I saw some people walking around. I saw a lot of cars one day, and I thought, gee, I want to go in there and see what's going on. But what would happen if I did that?
Well, you're automatically welcomed.
Yeah.
If you have an event, then you're really welcomed because that's what we want. We want people to come. But it's like it's like one of these. It's hospitality. That no one's turned away. Even though we're Catholic, it doesn't matter what you are. If you're curious, come on in. If you want to stay a few days, fine. As long as it doesn't look like it's not going to work. Sometimes that happens where people need special resources, but that's rare. I mean, when I think of all the people that have knocked on the door, they're welcome. There's no locks on the door. There's, that's sort of symbolic. So, some of this is sort of evangelizing. We're trying to spread this. So friendliness and hospitality is sort of the heart of it. And that one of the things that, we might even be complimented by in communities like ours is that, people can really be themselves when they come. They don't have to be like some people have said, I wonder if I need to dress up to go there. Well, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is come. And there's no special garments that are going to be appreciated. So I think that's it, that people love the idea or look forward to the idea of going to a place where they're accepted as they are. And
well, one of the things you mentioned was people can learn to live environmentally.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit quickly about that and how do you address that? How are people being taught to live environmentally?
Well,
when they come to your place.
Right. Well, 20% of all the greenhouse gases come from meat. So you want to learn a vegan diet, a vegetarian at least, and a vegan is better. That's an environmental diet. We used to think that was rarefied, vegan. Ooh, Now it's just environmentally sound. So you learn how to grow that kind of food, and you learn to eat it and enjoy it, because the way we cook it is good. We have people that can really cook. So that's a way to brag about the good organic food. So that's one way to do it. Of course, cutting wood for heat, so you help with that. So that helps.
So you would go and you would participate.
Yes,
you would actually
live.
Do some hands-on stuff.
Right. Get up at 7:30 and pray. Then you have breakfast. Then you work the land for the morning. Maybe you work in the afternoon. You work at getting publicity out. Or if it's a real crunch with growing season, then you work all day on the land. And if we're building a house or some building project is going on, which can happen, then you can help with that.
And you learn how to build using, you mentioned some straw bale material.
Right.
So this is materials extracted from your property.
Right.
And built into a home.
Right. And right. So
and who gets to live in the home?
Well, whoever wants to,
Okay.
I mean, people come, they come as volunteers and they come as interns. So they can stay from 2 weeks to 2 years, learning how to do this. And they join
And that's the relationship. It's volunteer or intern.
Yes,
Right? Yeah.
yes. Yeah, people get room and board. Sometimes we pay a stipend if it's needed. We pay that according to need. Some people come have a need, some people don't. So that's it. That's how we work that. So, and you learn how to live together. So living collectively is all environmentally sound. Living individually is a very expensive, and it turns out to be a very kind of lonely lifestyle. So we have to get that idea back that we need each other, and the environmental crisis is going to do that, whether we want that to happen or not. And so I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah.
But
It's funny because that's what happens. If there's a big snowstorm, people get a lot more friendlier.
Yeah,
You know, they get to shovel each other out or help each other.
Right.
So things like that
Right.
happen, and you're making that point.
right.
The
And
environment.
in extremity, because the environmental extreme weather that we're coming into is devastating all over the place, all over the country,
Yeah.
all over the world. And, you know, people come together immediately when it happens, and it's going to continue. So that's also going to, I think, encourage us to see again and again that we need each other, and that we even like each other, and that we can have bonds that we didn't know were possible. So I think the environmental extremity is going to help us be better people. I really believe that. Some people say, well, no, if we're in extremity, we're going to be on edge about who's got what, and we don't have enough of this and that. That could happen too, but I think humans do better when they need each other than when
Yeah.
they think they've got it made.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about the environment and the Agape community. What about the struggles of the peace community, the peace movement?
Mm-hmm.
How's that going? Because I know part of the nonviolence is to promote the peace,
Right,
and I know part of that is by helping each other.
right.
But what's the other element? Reaching out to the rest of the world
Right,
that's
right.
so engrossed in,
Right.
selfishness and
Sure.
all these things that are leading to war,
Right.
no matter where you turn. I mean, I don't know what the end result is. The last man standing is going to get, a big
Yeah.
rock to live on.
Yeah,
It's going to be
right.
all
That's it.
depleted.
That's it.
So what,
Well, that's my first love. Really, was nonviolent love. Was to figure out how to get humans to be more peaceful in the Vietnam War era. That's where it
Yeah.
started for me. So it's always been as Thomas Berry, who's a great, was a passionist priest. He was a great writer on the environment. He said there's three mediations: God to human mediation. That we realize we're not alone. And human-to-human mediation, we need to understand and reconcile with each other. And now in the age we're in now is the ecozoic age, which is the human-to-earth mediation. So we have to live peacefully with the earth and on the earth. And so we never let go of Pope Francis is big on this. It's the combination of taking care of each other and understanding each other and being more at peace with each other as a species, human to human mediation, especially the poor, especially because if we don't look out for the poor, nobody's going to look out, and they will be in dire straits, as they always have been. So we always carry that. Now we have to fold that into the idea that we're going to be spending most of our time trying to survive dangerous weather and extreme weather.
Right.
So we never, ever forget the needs of our own species.
Right.
And I always think of racism now. I think that's where the peace movement has gone, is more to an understanding of the dynamics of race. And so all of these problems demand our attention, and they take more and more of our time. That's all we do, and even then it's demanding to keep all of these balls in the air.
Yeah.
With the human-to-human mediation, with making sure that we're not running off to war, and saying no to that. We're always on the streets when that begins to happen. And now we're going to have to kind of fold this all together, maybe leave a lot of the superfluous ways we live and the extra work that we have to do that doesn't add up to much, and really focus on how do we survive the climate crisis and keep track of how to be more at peace and encourage our own government to be at peace. I wonder how that's going to happen in the present climate. I think these days coming up with the present administration, we are really up against it here.
Yeah.
Because human-to-human relationships are at risk because of the hatreds and the white supremacy that's let loose with Trump and his people, and the undoing of all the environmental initiatives that Obama started. We're really in the biggest crisis that the human race has ever faced.
Yeah. We are in a, you mentioned violence, but we are in a culture of death. I mean, the abortion issue is something, I think that's a symptom
Yes.
of what we're looking at today.
Yes, it
I
is.
mean, the value of life is nothing almost.
Yes.
When you think of it from that perspective.
Right, that's true.
So it's a matter of education, and how do we educate and still connect people with God?
Right. It's
I mean,
love.
that's you're right, and you got the example is
love.
beautiful.
Yeah, you have to be love, and education. I think education is the most dynamic process that we can engage in, real education. But if it isn't love, then I think that's what we need. So we have to love people that are caught in an abortion mindset, or women that have felt that they've been betrayed by all of history, and so they're caught in that, and it's not their fault. It's a lot of it is caused by men,
Right.
So,
and the resentment, I think, is fanned by the media today and everything else.
Yeah.
Music means we're done. I want to thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank
I'd
you,
like you to
man.
come back at some time and keep us posted on what's going on.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to.
Let's let the audience know more about your community.
Yeah, and they can buy the book too.
Buy the book.
Yeah.
Where can they find it?
It's,
Loving Life on the Margins.
It's the store of the Agape community, and it's on you can order it through our community, which is peace@agapecommunity.org is our email.
Okay. Peace@agape.org. You've seen it. We have to sign off. Until next time, I'm Mauro Di Pasquale. I look forward to seeing you on WCCA TV, the People's Channel. Yeah.
Good. That's good.
We
Got
did
it in.
have your website
That
up
was only
there.
27 minutes.
Yeah, 28 actually. We went a little.